I'm sure if you're anything like me, you probably thought at one point, why can't things be like they were when I was a kid? And I'm sure that if you've seen certain things, smelt something, seen something, heard a song, it's probably taken you back to that time when you were a kid. And I think all too often we romanticize the past and look back as if times were better, when in reality they might not have been. I guess you could call that nostalgia. And I think nostalgia is an interesting thing because, fun fact, little history lesson for you, it was first coined by Johannes Hofer when there were a case of some, I think it was military guys, and they were coming down with physical symptoms like depression, like physical illnesses. They were having physical reactions to a mental thing, and it was what they were having the mental reaction to was a yearning for their homes, their farms back in the Swiss Alps. And originally it was thought to be some kind of cerebral condition, like an insanity that was caused by a yearning for, like I said, a yearning for a place. It comes from the Greek, I believe, or Latin, nostos, to return home, and algos, which is a pain or longing. So a longing to return home, pretty much. That's what it means when you split it up. And so yeah, during the 18th century, it was believed it was almost a cerebral thing that it was treated almost similar to an insanity. And it wasn't really until recent times, or at least in the 90s and 80s, that it became the term nostalgia became more of a less of a medical diagnosis and more of a description of a feeling or an emotion. In the 19th century, it was kind of adopted by romantic literature, the things you'd imagine, like poetry about longing for a place in time. It's actually in the 19th century that it became a shift from the longing for a place to the longing for a time that once was. So originally those Swiss guys that were yearning for their farms back in Switzerland kind of shifted away from that and became about wanting a time that once was, a longing for a time that once was, which I think is interesting. What's interesting about nostalgia is that I don't think it requires direct experience. And a good example of this would be when Stranger Things, season 2 or 3, I think it was, came out. And all I saw, whether it was on TikTok or Instagram or on YouTube or just any the people that I was talking to, was the idea that people my age believed we were born in the wrong generation and that we were better off in the 80s. And it's understandable because I think that season of the show, Stranger Things, really did romanticize what it would be like to live in the 80s. It didn't really go into depth about how long it would take to get information from point A to point B, and like the lack of technological advancement, all the bad political stuff that was going on. Anyway, it didn't really highlight any of that. All it really highlighted was going to the mall with your friends, getting food, going to see movies, going to the public pool in the sun, in the summer, all that kind of stuff that was obviously made nostalgic by an 80s background. And it's funny because although none of the people my age experienced that time firsthand, we were still able to feel nostalgic for it, for a time that we didn't even exist in. And I think that speaks to a deeper level of escapism. And when I say escapism, what I really mean is the way in which people like to live vicariously through other forms of life, whether it could be a show, living vicariously as if you were around in the 80s and you enjoyed all the same things they were enjoying, or whether it's a video game, you're living vicariously through the characters in that video game, you make your own life in that game. And when I mean escapism, I guess what I'm really talking about is, I think it's very easy for us as humans to want more than what we have and try to escape the current situation we're in. Because if everything's going wrong in your life, it's understandable that you'd want to be somewhere else. It's completely understandable. I also think that nostalgia, or at least the escapism aspect of nostalgia, is slightly caused by, I don't think it's a scientific term, but something called rosy retrospection, or I guess you could say kind of looking through rose-coloured glasses at the past. And it's the fact that your good memories often get remembered a lot more efficiently and a lot more than the negative memories you have. Obviously this varies from person to person, but it's kind of a general sweeping statement that the good memories get remembered more because they're thought about more. Which means when you look back at when you're a kid, most of the time you're going to be remembering good things that happened. So then when you're sitting there in the present thinking, what was my childhood like? And you remember all the fun things that you did, all the good things that happened to you, it's very easy to go, God, that's way better than how my life is now. Like, what am I doing? And then through those forms of nostalgia, whether it's watching a show, smelling something, eating something, anything, all those memories come flooding back. And funnily enough, in the more scientific aspect of romanticising the past and nostalgia, that did become more discovered. We realised that those feelings of nostalgia aren't bad. They're not a cerebral condition that causes you to go insane because of homesickness. It can really be a good thing. And although I would say escapism and trying to escape the present moment that you're in maybe isn't the best, because I think you should aim to try and be happy with what you have rather than constantly seeking something else or seeking a time that once was or a time that could be. Nostalgia isn't inherently bad, and research uncovered that and scientists realised that, and lots of studies have been done. Many show that the feelings that come with nostalgia are broadly positive, the effects of them at least, the effects of feeling nostalgia. They're not bad, they're not as severe as they were when it was first coined in the 18th century. And I think that was a good shift to understand that nostalgia isn't a bad thing, and that we're natural to romanticize the past. All of these things are human things, and if we didn't do them, then you wouldn't be human. I don't think anyone can say that they haven't at one point thought about or romanticized the past. Everyone's done it. With that being said, what I always will say is to try and treasure the present moment you have, because it really is all you have. I said this in another video, but the present is really what you have. So please just try and value that, and be present with the people you love. Circling back to nostalgia, there's one smell that always gets me. It's some kind of tanning lotion or a skin lotion, whatever, tanning serum, I don't know what it is, but it really gets me, it really gets my nostalgia machine going, and it takes me back to when I was a really young kid, and I don't know what trip it might have been or what country I might have been in when I smelled it the first time, but it really, really activates that nostalgic part of my brain. And I kind of like the fact that I can't quite wrap my head around where I know it from, because I think the brain is just incredible at what information it decides to lend to your conscious understanding. because there's hundreds of millions of neurons going off when I feel that, when I smell that, all the neurological stuff that turns the smell into information in the brain, all that's going on. And while that's going on, it's also being processed. So my brain knows that I've smelt it before, but doesn't know exactly where from, but it knows, it recognizes it. I think that's so cool. I don't know if you guys are watching are as into psychology as me, but I think that's just an awesome concept. And I kind of like not knowing fully about it, because it means there's always more to discover. But I will probably find the answer myself after this video is over, and I recommend you do the same thing. So yeah, that's it for today's video, and I hope you guys have a good one. If it's the beginning of the day, I hope you have a good day. If it's the end of the day, if it's the end of the day, I hope you had a good day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.